Isabella Smith from Southern Belle Events. Welcome. The first thing I wanted to ask you is like, what is the epitome of a bad event or a good event? Like, what makes the difference?
Yeah, I think what I've heard most from guests, and I'm sure that you can relate to this, is the food. No one wants to go to an event hungry, um, and come back still hungry or not satisfied. You know, it could be either not good enough food, not filling food, not enough food for the amount of people you have. Um, that's definitely a big one, though. So your wedding can be amazing, but the food can be bad, and that will stick with someone in their head. They'll be talking about it or thinking about it and think, "Yeah, that wedding was awesome, just the food could have been better." Um, you know, so that's a big one. I think another one is probably just the flow of the wedding, just making sure that, the guest or the bride and groom or, whatever type of event it is not going to be, like, interrupted. So, yes, an event planner likes to stay on schedule, but it's also important to watch the crowd, and watch the client and make sure, like, that they're enjoying their time. It's the event. That's what it's all about, celebrating and enjoying, family and friends. So, schedule's good, but you don't have to stick to it 100%. It's really more about, watching the crowd and making sure that they're happy and that you're just following along with how they're feeling.
Well, surprise, everybody. This is actually my sister. And one of the reasons why I actually wanted to talk with her is because we had a relatively unique upbringing where we grew up on as stereotypical Nashville as you get. Doesn't matter where I go or live in the world. When I mention Nashville, and then at any point in the conversation, if I ever mention, yeah, it was actually a horse farm, they're like, it's like the most stereotypical possible thing. But we actually did quite a lot of weddings, proms. We even did your school proms, which we'll get to a lot of this later. But I really wanted to hear your perspective on this because it is so unique, and I don't think either of us realized how unique of an opportunity quotes it was as we were in the moment, as it often is. But looking back, you're like, what in like we were doing literally like a wedding every single week for quite a long time. And it was a lot. So so just to follow up on that, what's worse? Not enough food or bad food?
Bad food.
Bad food's worse. So it's, I guess, always better to have people wanting more.
Either way, they're gonna if it's bad or if the food is just not enough, either way, they're gonna go and get more afterwards, like go by McDonald's or, Wendy's or something like that. But at least if they're talking about the event, they're gonna say, "Oh, yeah, that food was so good," rather than, that was terrible food. I got food afterwards." They're more likely to talk about getting food afterwards if it was bad food rather than it was good food and just didn't get enough. But the key is great food and enough for everyone. That is how you have a happy crowd.
So what is one of the ways then that you would ensure that there's enough? Because by the way, the reason why I asked that might sound really obvious, but there's quite a lot of how many weddings have you been to where there's just not good food or it's not enough, like a shockingly large amount, right?
I think it depends, where the event is taking place, you know? My most important thing is whoever's the client is, for it to be food that they enjoy, that they like. And honestly, the food that people normally like the most at events is simple food. It doesn't have to be a well done steak with really good sides and mashed potato or a good chicken because that's great and everyone loves that. But when you're making those types of foods in bulk, it's just not the same. So I found most people that come to an event and love it. It's simple food. Like I know I went to an event, some people ordered, they just ordered in bulk Chipotle, and it was great. I loved it. Um, for my wedding, I did pizza, and everyone loved it, and it was amazing. So just I think the key personally is you don't have to be super formal um, with the food choices. Now, some people like to be formal with that. I just think when you're going to choose that option, it needs to make sure to be a good vendor or a good caterer. Um, Making sure that, they've got down that knowing how to make it, pre-make it. So, excuse me, knowing how to make it before and keep it fresh, or if they're making it during, um, having that down of the guest count and the food count in a certain amount of time. What I do normally just to make sure you have enough is I always order a little bit above, because whether or not you order above, you're not wasting that money. Like, people are going to go for seconds, but as long as they get enough the first time and can't go for seconds, they're still going to be happy. Um, so I think obviously asking the caterer should be, if you have a qualified caterer, you should um be able to ask them, and they should have a good answer of how much they should have. That's going to be enough. If that's not the first step, then the second step would be, like I said, ordering a little extra, but whether that's going to be for the actual guest or also um, for the caterers that you have or for the vendors that you have, they're going to have to eat as well. And most events, you have to, provide that for them. So I just think ordering a little more than what is expected, because most events, all the time, I see random people just coming, people they know, but they necessarily didn't invite. They always show up. So always order extra. Personally, I think it's not a bad thing to have leftovers.
What's going on, guys? If you like that clip right there, you will love the full interview. You can check that out right there. I'll see you on the next video. Oh, and subscribe, because we got a lot of big things coming up in the near future.